So what's going on, everybody? My name is Mike. If you don't know that already, I'm way more active on my Instagram account than I am on anything else. This is going to be my first YouTube video that I've done in a while. With that being said, I work a full-time job, and taking care of these animals is a full-time job for me as well. So, I don't have a lot of time to do these things, and my days off are few and far between. So this one's going to be a pretty short one, so it's going to be about Tokay gecko handling. So hopefully you guys learn from this experience and take some information in and get an insight about how I went about taming down my Tokay geckos. So to start this off, I'm going to be working with my male Tokay gecko, Gigan. He's about 10.5 inches long, about 77 to 80 grams roughly. He doesn't look very bulky, but I'm shocked as much as he weighs, and my scale seems to be pretty accurate. So the reason why I'm going to go with this guy is because out of all three of them, sometimes he's the only one that still barks and bites at me. So I figured, using the one that's a little bit more on the defensive side would set a good example as to how to go about, taming these guys down. First step that I went through was doing a little bit of research about how to tame these guys down, and seeking out what people have done to do these things. A lot of my tactics that I had used was I got referenced from a guy named, I think his name is Kevin. He is the owner of New England Reptile Distributors, and he works with monitor lizards and taming them down and understanding the science of the animals when it comes to their mental capacity and the further better understand these guys. So what I learned from that, I kind of used some of his tactics that he used for, monitors, or at least like taking his style and kind of twisting it around to adjusting it to a Tokay gecko. Now, I don't know if that guy has ever actually done any of these things with Tokays. A lot of people say that these things are impossible to tame down, but you're about to witness a very tame Tokay gecko, even if he nips or bites at me. Well, the first thing is I learned is do not wear gloves. Do not do it. If you are buying a Tokay gecko and you ever intend on handling the Tokay gecko for whatever reason, know that you're going to get into buying an animal that's, you're going to get bit. The reason being that you shouldn't wear gloves is because gloves terrify them. It makes your hand look scary and more abnormal than it already looks to them. So it's better to just ditch the glove, and if you get bit, you get bit. A lot of times when these guys bite you, it's like a quick nip and they let go, and it's more like a warning bite, and sometimes they don't even bite at all. It's more like a head-butting thing. So, and if the animal does latch down and bite, that's because you are gripping the animal. So whenever you've seen that, like in pictures or videos, it's because the person that is being bit is actually gripping the animal tightly. The second rule is do not grip the Tokay gecko. Gripping the Tokay gecko is going to make it feel like that it's being attacked. So therefore, meaning you're going to anger it and scare it, and if you do get bit by it, the severity of the injury will be worse, because these guys do have strong jaws and very sharp teeth. So for the most part, how I went about doing this was I kind of just, waited for the animal to come out on its own. Normally, Gigan is not out during this time. He's usually out at night, but I kind of had to flush him out to kind of do this video. So to me, the best time to do this would be at night when they are, coming out to hunt for insects or just hang out in general. So one of the first things you want to do is you kind of just have to start putting your hands inside the enclosure at first. And I wouldn't suggest touching them right away at all. You want them to just kind of get used to, your hand doing things like, changing out a dish or, moving something around. That way they can kind of get accustomed to, your hand not really being perceived that much as a threat. If you do that for a while, I'd say for a couple weeks or whatever, then I would start working on touching them gently. All you have to do is just kind of touch their back and just make it brief. You don't have to do it for very long. Then from there, you can start working on trying to pick them up. A lot of times you can go underneath the chin. So he's kind of being a little defensive right now. But at this juncture, like, I can't really get my finger underneath the way it is. It's a lot easier when they're on glass. If they run, just let them run. Don't try to really corner them. You can try to corral them out of the enclosure, but it's better just to let them run and do their thing and just keep working on it. And the third rule is, while you're doing all this work with them, you should talk a little bit just so they can get used to the sound of their voice, because geckos do have ears. So, you know, them being able to hear your voice might also affiliate the hand being you. So that way they're not as afraid if somebody else goes to handle them. But you can see here, the Gigan's not really like the most defensive. And I've gotten to the point with him where I can just literally just kind of pick him up, if you'll let me. And I'm not even gripping him at all. He may not be having any of it today. Oh, just kidding. So you got an idea where, you know, if he was a really defensive animal, he would have been biting the crap out of me, but obviously he's very well behaved and he wants to go back in, so I'm gonna let him do that. And that's pretty much it. So for the most part, guys, like, Tokay gecko handling, it really isn't that difficult. It's whether or not you have the patience. If you don't have the patience for it and you're completely cool with having the animal as just a display animal, they actually probably would appreciate that more, because regardless of what the common thought is with pet reptiles and things like that nature, is that they like being handled, and that's just simply not true. Geckos and most reptiles do not like being touched or handled. They just learn to tolerate it. And there are some exceptions to the rule, like I've seen rhino iguanas and bearded dragons that seem like they really thoroughly enjoy it. But even then, like, you know, you don't know that for a fact. At the end of the day, you know, what I've done with my Tokay geckos seem to really work, and all of them are very, very, very calm. They still like to run, so that's never going to really go away. But at the same time, you know, I'm content with that. I didn't want them to calm down all the way, but I just wanted them to be calm enough where I could take them out of the cage without them, you know, biting me, and so that I can do what I need to do inside their enclosure and then put them back, and they'll be completely fine with that. And let's go ahead and recap on what I've talked about. The one thing I said is don't wear gloves. And the reason why I suggest not to wear gloves is, despite the fact that, you know, that these guys can and will probably bite you, it just augments the appearance of your hand, and that scares them even more. And the thing is, if you bought a Tokay gecko and you intend on handling the animal, let it be known that you are taking on the risk of getting bit, and it's probably going to happen. And if you want them to tame down, you're going to get bit. The bites really aren't as severe as some people say that they are. I've been bitten 3 times, and only once did it ever draw blood. And, you know, it's kind of part of the game. Like, if you want to have a Tokay gecko as a strictly, like, display animal, that's completely fine as well. You do not have to handle them. If you want a gecko that you can handle, or a lizard that you can handle, like, go for, like, you know, crested geckos, leopards, African fat tails. However, to me, the Tokay geckos are like the epitome of what it is to be a gecko. And I'm absolutely fascinated by it, and the fact that they have such a bad rap is what got me into them, more or less to prove it kind of wrong, because they aren't demonic, they're not evil, they're not aggressive. And a lot of people get the terms aggressive and defensive mixed up, so I wanted to kind of disprove that whole thing. It's all about being slow and gentle with everything that you do with these guys. And never grip them or anything like that, because if you do grip them, that's just going to entice them to want to bite. Now, once they get calmed down enough, you actually can just scoop them up like I did in this video. It's not something that they really like, but if the animal is calm and thinks that, you know, if I remain this way, then the human being is going to put me back in the enclosure. And ultimately, like I said, that's what the animal wants, is to be left alone. So as long as you know, respect that, and you reward the Tokay gecko with being released back into its enclosure, it'll be a lot happier. I also suggest, you know, short handling sessions, like 20 minutes is pretty good. I wouldn't do anything necessarily more than that. And also, as you're working with these geckos, I suggest that you do talk to them, even though that may sound weird. And I'm not really one that likes to, you know, talk to my reptiles, but with these Tokay geckos and Halmahera geckos and stuff like that, there's a sense of intelligence there that you're not going to see in other geckos. So it seems like they kind of affiliate your voice with more of like that positive reinforcement from the handling, as long as you're doing the handling correctly, because the whole time you have to be positive despite what the animal might do to you. And note that whatever happens to you from the animal is technically your fault, because you're provoking the animal. You are instigating it to be afraid and defensive. So, you know, hopefully guys, you know, you learned something from this. I know this is not the best video. You know, I wanted to do something quick, just to have something on there. I'm using my phone as a method of filming, which I'm not a big fan of as well, because I'm not going to be using my computer to edit any of this stuff. So this is just a brief one. Hopefully I actually can come up with a better video for Tokay gecko handling than this one down the road. I feel like I can do a much better job, you know, filming with my GoPro or any of the other cameras that I have. And I also tend to like kind of write out what I'm about to talk about, which I didn't do with this video. So some of it seems like it's kind of like rambling. Thanks again, guys, for watching. Hopefully you liked the video. Sorry if it didn't seem like it was that great to begin with. I know I could do a lot better. So, all right, I'll check you later.